And we're off. So hi everyone, well done for turning up today. For those of you that don't know, my name's Chris McNamara, founder and CEO of Pathway CTM, but today is not about me whatsoever. It's all about you. And we've come up with this initiative, supported by the careers enterprise companies, schools and colleges around England to make sure that we are supporting students who are really looking to further their futures over this difficult period. I'll talk you through the schedule of what we've got lined up, but ultimately there's 8 sessions that we're going to be running every Wednesday, 3 till 4 p.m. to make sure that I'm bringing in amazing employers that you can speak to, because I've got a great connection of employers, apprentices, people who are doing really, really well in their jobs, and people who know how to do well and how to get into the good jobs. So it's really important that I can share that with you. And my aim for this program is over the next 8 weeks up till Easter, you can dip in and out, hopefully join us for as many sessions as possible, because we'll be recording it and seeing who does really well at the end of it. And actually have really great confidence, gain some really important skills, and also really think about what sort of companies you want to work for. And then from Easter through to the summer, that's when Max gets busy. And indeed, we get busy at Pathway CTM to make sure that we're supporting you into where you want to go. Let me just give you an example of that, right? So let's say we've got students in the Midlands today, shout out to you. It's a case of we will know what region you're from. We have connections in Birmingham, in the West Midlands, for example, where we can link you into different companies that are posting jobs there, for example, and linking into the communities back into where you live, because it's so important that we link local jobs to you guys. And I guess the reason I set up this program is because I want to find out who the most driven young people are around the country. Because for me, I was never the brightest spark. I'm still not. I just work really hard. And I think actually what I want to prove today in this session is key skills, transferable skills, all the soft skills and things that you don't talk about so much maybe at school, about attitude and willingness and drive. All those sort of things are so important in doing well in your career. I just want to introduce Danny, who's got a great job at the co-op, and he sort of helped us with this concept. Danny, just a little bit of an introduction from you and why we're here today, I suppose.
Yeah, hi everyone, and great to see everyone on the call today. So yeah, as Chris mentioned, I'm Danny. I work at the Co-op, so the probably well-known retailer, but funeral care, legal services, and health business as well. And my role at the Co-op is to effectively recruit all of our apprentices, but I also do a lot of work in this kind of careers education space as well as linking into university. So kind of a lot of background in exactly the kind of skills, the knowledge, and the kind of capabilities that people need to get into work after education. And I think Chris, and I'm sure we'll cover off a little bit more as well. I think for me that the key thing around this initiative, when Chris and I started talking about this, was that we're really mindful of how much change there's been over the past couple of years, and particularly this year, and the impact on young people particularly. And so Chris has wonderfully come up with a program which is all centered around helping young people, particularly those on the call today, to get ready for work, really, and everything that sits around that, from developing skills to understanding what opportunities are out there, to how do you actually get onto them, and some tricks of the trade as such. And hopefully at the end of it, it'd be great to see as many young people from this call and beyond accessing employment, or going to the university of their choice, or going on to an apprenticeship as well.
Thanks, Danny. And you make the decisions at the co-op about, who sort of comes in via the entry-level apprenticeship routes, etc. What would you say to young people? It is 3 o'clock. It is after school hours. What would you say to young people who have already left school and turning up, and those who have actually still in school but turned up after school?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think it's important to remember that whether you're still in school or you've left school, everybody has an equal opportunity to get into work. I think, without going into too much detail around skills and what you need and how to navigate the application process or understand what businesses want, I think the main thing for me is really invest in this program and invest in your own development over the course of however many weeks you engage with this piece of work, because ultimately it is about developing your confidence in yourself to then come across confident and be willing to put yourself forward for those opportunities as such. But yes, there's lots of change out there. yes, as you know, you read the media every day, and I struggle sometimes to find a good news story. But it's really important that do remember that there are jobs out there that people can apply for and that people can get, and there are opportunities for apprenticeships. So there are definitely kind of roles and opportunities which anybody on this course or program can access. It's just about building your skills and being confident to go for those roles and grab the opportunity with both hands, to coin the phrase.
Exactly. Thanks, Danny. And I'm going to be chatting through a few slides with Danny at the beginning. And then, guys, I've got a panel of apprentices from some top brands as well. And let me just show you some of those brands. So we're getting lots of companies involved in this movement. You'll probably recognize quite a few of them. And we're going to speak to apprentices from some of these companies today. Again, like some of these companies are recruiting this summer. So who knows, you might end up with some of these companies this summer. The other ones who maybe aren't recruiting immediately, they're going to be supporting your journey with content and making sure that basically you get the best knowledge from these big companies to make sure that we can help you get to wherever you want to get to. It might be working for a smaller company like my company at Pathway CTM. It might be working for a big company. Either way, we're on that journey with you at Pathway CTM. And you can already see the lineup of the events that we've got. So we've gone every single Wednesday, 3 till 4. We can already see a few of the sessions are booked up there. This time next week, they'll all be booked up from different employers. So Danny, for example, next week, we're looking at basically the co-op leading on a session there. We've got Jaguar Land Rover coming up, after that in terms of on the 24th of March, Experian down there. Experian, I think from memory, are looking at video interviews, for example, because we're in a COVID world. We need to make sure if we are applying for these big companies, we're prepared for it. Even a smaller company like mine might have to do video interviews now because we can't meet you. So how on earth can you prepare for them? And that's what we want to make sure that you get through the content till Easter. And Easter till summer is when, again, we can do a little bit more one-to-one support. And Max will be coming into play to help you with that in terms of how we can do informal application clinics to help you on your journey into employment. Guys, how you can communicate, we've said it already. Chat box, you can leave any comments in there. And the Q&A box, ask any questions in the Q&A box, and I'll make sure that I ask them. So any questions you want answered, put them in there, and I'll make sure that I ask the apprentices and the panel that we've got. So Max, we spoke about you a little bit there. Just talk us through your role and how you help young people and how you're going to be of service to students and young people on this program.
So, like I said earlier, my role is I go into schools virtually across the UK. Schools will put me in and say, look, we want to run a session with our students about how to write a good CV, and another one about how to prepare for an interview or pass an assessment centre. And it's my job to present those sessions, to break down those things that you've got coming up, to make you feel more comfortable about them and show them that you already have the skills within you. You just need to know how to bring them out. And I'll show you how employers want to see them. But then also part of the work that I do, and that Chris does as well with Pathway, is to work with employers to show them what students feel and how they adapt. And businesses take that on board as well. But my other part of my job is to be in touch with these companies and see what opportunities are available. And as those opportunities open up and become available, because I have contact with students all the time, you can then get in touch with me and say, look, I really want to apply to one of these brands scheme, and I've got a video interview to do. Help me prepare. And I'll help you prepare for that. Similarly, there might be an assessment centre. I'll help you prepare for that. But because of the relationship that we have at Pathway CTM with the brands, is that we talk to them and say, tell me how it works. What are you going to be looking for? Doesn't mean I can give you the answers to pass it, but I can help you prepare and be ready for the task ahead to show your natural skills and ability and help you make the right choices going forward as well. We're good to offer you advice. We have experience, we have knowledge. At the end of the day, it's the work that you do. Chris said it. It's about the hard work that you put in. So we're there to support you. How's that, Chris?
No, I like it, Max. Thanks very much. I want to see you really tired by the end of the summer by how much you put into this and how much students and young people are using you, because Max is great. That's why we've got him in the team. So guys, if you haven't done the poll already, please do it. And while I introduce some of the people on the call. So we've heard from Danny. Great to have you here, Danny. Thank you very much. Let's go to Jack with Jaguar Land Rover. Just say hello with your name, the company, and the role that you have there, please, Jack.
I'm Jack. I work at Jaguar Land Rover, and I'm a software engineer and currently studying digital and technology solutions at the University of Warwick.
Fantastic, Jack. Thanks very much for joining us. And we've got Alyssa from National Grid. Alyssa.
Hi, I'm Alyssa. Yeah, I work at National Grid. I'm a substation craftsperson apprentice. So for any of you who don't know what a substation is, because I had zero idea, that's just basically all the high voltage equipment, the end of your big pylons and stuff like that. And yeah,
Like it,
quite a fun job.
like it, Alyssa. That's awesome. Have we got Tom Cully yet?
Hi, Chris. Sorry, I was slightly
I've
late.
made it.
It's been it's National Apprenticeship Week. It's a bit crazy, but
Well,
here we
Tom,
are.
we know you're a high-profile man in the apprenticeship space, but Tom, tell the guys who you are and why you're here.
Not sure about that, but thanks, Chris. My name's Tom. I'm a degree level networks apprentice at BT. I started in 2018 after being on the Pathway program. So for those of you thinking, where do I go? What do I do? You're in the right place. That's what I'm telling you. I was there and I'm really lucky to be in the role where I am now. Alongside being a networks degree apprentice, I also co-chair the London Young Apprentice Ambassador Network, which is a national network, but we lead a region in London aiming to promote and share all things amazing about apprenticeships.
Nice, Tom. And Tom's got a great story about resilience that proves that, you know, it's not always like you just apply for one and you get the role straight away. But what he's done in his career now, it's just amazing to see. So yeah, really proud of what Tom's achieved. And it's great that he's now giving back, like all these apprentices are, so early in their careers, like already in these high-profile jobs, and giving back like this, which I would be pretty scared to be doing in the early stages of my career. So they're obviously doing something right. Experian and Emmy, have we got you on the line as well?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm Emmy. I'm doing a degree apprenticeship in business-to-business sales at Experian, and my current role is an account manager. So yeah, I'm basically working the sales department at Experian.
Amazing. Thanks for joining. And you've got to be gone by past, is that right?
Yeah, I've got another call, if that's all right.
Yeah, no problem at all. So let's have a look at the poll results. Max, can you see these poll results that I've shared? Max, you're on mute. Classic from you, Max. We need better than that. So, okay, so we're moving on to...
I can see them. I can see them.
Thanks, Max. Right, guys, how are you coping with COVID? Because I think it's important. And look, 63%, a bit up and down. I just want our panelists to recognise that because, you know, myself, like top of my company, some days are difficult. And I think it's about sharing that with each other. And again, I want to be able to do that through this this programme to make sure that we can really support you throughout Easter into the summer as well. Which of the following applies to you? So the majority there, we're looking at year 11s, year 13s. We've got a few other year groups on here too, which is great, and great to see teachers on the session as well. What are you considering for your next step? So an apprenticeship is up there at 31%, but leading is I don't know at 35%. I think that's absolutely fair, particularly in lockdown and the uncertainty, I suppose. 25% still thinking uni, and 8% just want a job, really, not really bothered about potentially an apprenticeship, just want to get in and work, maybe without the apprenticeship attached to that, which is absolutely fine. And what are you hoping to get most out of this program? So 73% have said that they want to learn more about opportunities, because I guess we just need to find out what's out there so we can go for it. Develop your skills at 61%, connect with job ready network so basically every one of us as part of this program, and then also access to the support from Max and his team at Pathway CTM when it comes to that crunch time, whether it's getting your CV right or whether it's an interview that you've got in the next few months. And in terms of the win, the Southeast win in terms of representation, and the Northwest come in at second. So well done, guys, for getting involved in the session today. So let's have a little, let me get that poll out of the way. Let's have a little look at what we think here. So put in the chat box, guys, what comes to mind when you think of key skills and transferable skills? Pop in the chat box, which Max will do now, just to make sure that you have got that. So key skills, transferable skills. Off you go. Communication's coming up quite a lot. Teamwork, trust, confidence, what Danny said earlier. Leadership, cooperation, Danny will like that word. Customer skills, dedication, public speaking, initiative, adaptability, positive attitude. I'm going to leave it on that one, actually. Resilience, absolutely brilliant. Customer service. So let's have a little look, guys, because when I look at key skills, transferable skills, key skills are transferable skills and vice versa. You know, they're key in bringing you forward in your career, and they're transferable in the sense that you can use them in any walk of life. But let's just have a little look at something that I find inspiring as someone who's not the most academic, you know, and that probably is resilient. 75% of employers say that resilience is the most important skill for the next 5 years. Now, you know, of course, we've got to be getting our maths and English and our grades to a certain level, but then it really goes into another level. And sometimes we're so absorbed with school and college about the grades that we need, etc. Maybe the things we're not doing very well at, which I always got told by my teachers, you're not hitting the A, you're not hitting the C, whatever it might be. But actually resilience is something that's huge and sometimes under-recognized. Emotional intelligence, so how you interact with people and how you deal with situations, comes in as second most important. So I think it's pretty inspiring looking at that. And Danny, just to come to you, does that come true in your sort of line of work as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think the resilience piece is really important, because it would be unrealistic for anyone to expect that every job they apply for or every opportunity that they go for they get, because it just doesn't happen. That's just called life, unfortunately. And I think having that resilience and that really positive attitude to overcome those barriers in life, or those hurdles in life, and importantly in the workplace as well, not just about applying for jobs, but some decisions that are made don't go your way, or you can get frustrated really easily in some situations when people maybe don't agree with your way of thinking, or whatever that might be. So I think resilience is really key. And I think the second point, Chris, on emotional intelligence, I think is a really important one, not just for now, but in the long term. So we know that technology is taking over the world, arguably, and that's what the data is showing us for 2030, kind of fourth industrial revolution. Emotional intelligence is one of the only things which computers cannot replace. One of the only things which makes us human, and allows us to kind of have our USP. So I think for me, that's a really key one that people need to focus on.
And it's funny, I'm just looking at a study here from Deloitte, the big accountancy professional services firm. So the Deloitte Access Economics predicts that 2/3 of all jobs will rely on transferable skills by 2030. So transferable skills, these softer skills that we're looking at here, are really important to society and to the economy. But we never maybe get told about that at school, maybe a little bit, but because there's no exams that are going to get you X, Y, Z, and it doesn't look good on your CV and etc. Sometimes these things are forgotten. And I just think in lockdown, when we don't know what's going on with our grades, if we're still in education and we're not sure how we're going to be treated with that, I think this program and these sort of skills are so important. I mean, Danny, looking at those skills there, it's almost like a bit of an attitude. You either turn it on or you turn it off, because I can go in and get involved and try my best and probably pick up these skills along the way, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's just two on there that are already shouting out to me. Anyone that's in education at the moment, well, you've adapted to the changing circumstances in the past year, and you're able to manage your time if you're working from home, because ultimately there's no bell going off in your house telling you when to leave the class and when to go to the next one. So yeah, I think all of these transferable skills, or sometimes called soft skills, or sometimes referred to as employability skills, I think are really key, and again, part of that profile that you build up over a course of time. The last thing I would say on that, Chris, is that it's important to remember that they don't always have to be related to work. So they don't always have to be about work experience. They can be about things outside of a workplace or a kind of a corporate environment. They can be in any walk of or any experience that you have in your life.
And Danny, we did a session with you, didn't we, before about becoming a co-op volunteer, for example. There are ways we can be creative around putting stuff on our CV and building momentum, even though we're trapped in our flats and our houses, right? We can still do stuff such as things like this. This is worthy of a CV, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think showing that willing to get engaged in employability activities and developing yourself and your skills, hopefully over the course of the next 8 weeks or so, you'll develop a range of different skills that you didn't have before, all virtually. So yeah, absolutely. There's lots of different ways you can develop these skills, even in just speaking to family members on Zoom, or you're developing your communication skills there. I think creativity is a difficult one sometimes to develop when you're working virtually, but that's the way of thinking rather than necessarily always action.
Or maybe handling problems in when things aren't working online with cameras. I think we've all been creative to make sure we can communicate over this period. So guys, there you have it really. We're going to be having this sort of content from big employers teaching you these skills that maybe we wouldn't be taught in school or college, which I think is the important part. Emmy, I want to come to you first from Experian. Just in terms of what we've said so far, any reflections from your point of view around what we've been talking about so far?
Probably just that, like you say, any sort of experience like this is great. To get involved with things like this. I know when I was in primary, secondary school, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and there was nothing like this scheme available for me. So yeah, just to really take advantage of like this great opportunity, because all these employees, we all want to like help, help you gain experience and potential opportunities. So yeah, just to take advantage of like this sort of schemes like this, really.
And Emmy, how did you get to where you are today?
So I actually did go to university before I started my apprenticeship at Experian. Didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. Went and studied linguistics for a couple of months and decided that wasn't actually for me. University life wasn't for me. I wanted a balance of earning money and gaining experience, as well as like a valuable degree. So yeah, I found the job application online, and then it's history from there, really.
And talk us through what it's like working at Experian then. Is it a good company to work for?
Yeah, so I loved it since the day I started. Obviously, it was a massive change coming from, I had 6 months out where I'd come straight from A-levels, really. But yeah, they were a great team. There's loads of perks at Experian. Yeah, it is a great company to work for.
And just for those of us that don't know, how does Experian sort of make money? Like, how does it exist? What does it do?
So our main sales point will probably be, so we do a lot of credit reports. So we do consumer credit reports and business credit reports. Yeah, it's quite complicated, but in the easiest way to put it is probably that we sell credit reports.
No, absolutely. And Amy, I know you've got to head off because you're in the midst of it in terms of having a soon. But I just wonder if there's any top tips for young people who want to maybe follow in your footsteps. Obviously get an amazing job, which offers you lots of training, etc., around resilience and coping, and any sort of motivational message. Because I want to get a motivational message from everyone today.
Yeah, I'd probably say, when you're going through the whole interview stages and you get declined from, so you don't get through to assessment centres, or you don't make it quite through the first application period, I'd say to use every single stage, even if it's negative and you get declined. They're all learning curves. So don't let a rejection stop you from applying for more jobs, or let it knock your confidence, because you can use it all as learning curves, and it just, like you say, it builds your resilience up. And they're just life lessons that you can use for the rest of your life.
That's amazing, Emmy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
no worries
today. And with that in mind, Tom, coming to you next. Again, Tom, you came through the Pathway program. You're now on an exceptional career. How can young people follow in your footsteps, and what reflections do you have from what we're speaking about today?
Thanks, Chris. First and foremost, resilience has been said already. So that 75% figure. And Emmy's mentioned it as well. She's absolutely right. I personally, while I was on the Pathway scheme, applied for 8 apprenticeships and 5 universities. And Chris will remember the phone calls that I made to him and his team after rejection after rejection after rejection, saying, "Chris, what am I doing wrong? Someone help me. I must be doing something wrong. I've come to your skills days and I've taken it all on board. I've taken all of your opportunities. I must be doing something wrong." No, I wasn't. And the answer to that is twofold. First of all, you need to take that feedback on board. Emmy's already said it, and I echo it. Every single application you make, you will get some kind of feedback, and that is what will build you to make you who you are. And secondly, it might be that some you apply for and you're not successful, but don't always think that that's you. Sometimes the organization just isn't suited to you, and if that organization were to accept you, you might not just enjoy yourself. It might not just be the right role for you. And there were definitely roles that I applied for which I thought sounded really interesting, but actually when I got into the interview setting, I found that the environment that I was in wasn't the environment that I wanted to work with. It was kind of incredibly corporate, almost kind of had a cold feeling, where with BT, I found it was kind of a warm, welcoming. It felt more of a conversation with the assessors. Every organisation will be different. Every organisation has different values and things that they stand for. That will come through in your application process and will come through in your research as well. The most important thing is that you don't let that knock you back and go, oh, look, I can't do it. I keep getting rejected. And the fact is, even if I kept university on the side effectively, all the way up to almost, I think it was about 2 weeks before I started at BT. I had my offer to study at the University of Kent in one hand and my offer at BT in the other. And rather than just calling Kent and saying, look, I'm going to do a degree apprenticeship, I called them and asked them if I could defer it back a year. So that actually I moved my kind of start date, if you like, from September 2018 to September 2019, just in case I didn't like the apprenticeship scheme, so that I could drop out of BT and have an application ready for me if I wanted it. But the fact is, some people might not get that far. Some people might apply for 8 apprenticeships and be unsuccessful, but that doesn't mean that that was time wasted. And the reason being, and I'm going to kind of look to Danny for a nod or a shake of his head here, and I wonder whether the co-op scheme for apprentices is the same as graduates, because at BT it's incredibly similar. The way we recruit apprentices and the way we recruit graduates, a lot of different parts are almost identical, from the online test to the video interview. And I can see Danny nodding now, and I'm sure there are plenty of other organisations that are exactly the same. So every single amount of time you put in towards these applications is your personal development. And don't forget that. You might not be successful in as many as you apply for, but actually you might then find that experience coming out of university easier to get onto a graduate program, because you've been there and you've done it and you've taken that feedback on board. But that's what I'd say, resilience is key in this.
And Danny, thanks, Tom. I'll bring you back in a second. But Danny, anything to comment on what you said there?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. From whether you're a graduate, whether you're an apprentice, particularly from a co-op point of view, we're not looking for experience. We're looking for those behaviours, those strengths, and that personality, for want of a better phrase, to come through in the selection process, rather than having 15 years worth of experience in X, Y, or Z. And a lot of employers that I work with as well recruit in very similar fashions. It's all about who you are as a person, rather than how many years of work experience you've had.
Exactly. And guys, by the way, for those of you that do stay on till the end, we're on for another half an hour today. We're going to give you a free strengths profile. It's something that we do in partnership with our strengths sort of partners, CAP. Capfinity is their name, beg your pardon, CAP for short. But it's really good. 20 minutes it will take you. Normally costs a few quid, but we want to give that to you for free, just so you know what your strengths are, because it's so hard, I think, looking in the mirror going, what am I good at? Or trying to ask your parents, or trying to ask your friends and family. And Tom, just back on you briefly there, just talk me through the pain of rejection, just because I would argue you had it easier than we do now looking for jobs as young people, because of the economy, because it's quite challenging. So the press always says, oh, it's a negative picture, but there are loads of opportunities and we're going to help these young people through it. But how would you just give them that bit of motivation that you just got to keep going?
Yeah, Chris, it's a really good point. We're in a very unusual time where there were definitely far more apprenticeship roles out there than I believe there are now. What is important is that you guys are yourselves. Don't try and be the person who you think the employer wants to employ. Be the person who you are, and be that passionate person to work for that employer. Time and time again, I sit with prospective apprentices in their applications who sit there and talk and just don't sound passionate. It's just one of many jobs that have applied for in a very long list. You've got to come in feeling and talking and not persuading, but just the way you speak, your enthusiasm, your passion will come through in the moment you walk through the door, if you really, really want it. So first and foremost, want it. Show the passion that tells us that you want it, and don't give up. And ultimately, don't try and be somebody else, because that will be noticed during the application process. Try and be you and tell us why. No previous experience is required. Danny said it as well. We're not expecting people to come into us being able to jump on and do network engineering from day one. I knew absolutely nothing, but what I did have was the passion and enthusiasm to learn, and that is what will get you onto the scheme, as opposed to having all the knowledge in the world.
And, and that's big companies, guys, smaller companies like mine, again, like if someone's done loads of research on my company, which will teach you how to do, comes there knowing about my background, knowing about the company, what I did last year, and maybe the talk I did last week, I'm so impressed. And that just shows the attention to detail and passion and research that young person has and has done, which counts for more ultimately. But BT do have live roles available for apprenticeships this year still, so you might be interested in those. We'll come back to that. But someone who do have live roles is Jaguar Land Rover. Their deadline's next week for anyone who's keen on those roles. But Jack, why should we be looking down the similar route to the route that you've taken? What's it like working at Jaguar Land Rover?
Well, I've been here a year now, and I'd say it's one of the best decisions I've made, 100%. Right from the start of sixth form. So I moved from Spain back to England in 2017 and went to sixth form in Cheltenham at a grammar school. And it was a school where you went to Oxford and Cambridge, or you went to Russell Groups and you did medicine and engineering, and there was not really any other route. But right from the start, I decided that I wanted to do an apprenticeship, and Jaguar Land Rover was the first apprenticeship I applied for, and surprisingly was the apprenticeship I ended up going for. But I did apply for, I think, nearly over 100 apprenticeships in the end, and went to about 25 interviews. So really echoing the resilience point about just don't stop pushing forward and don't get lazy with your applications, and right until the last minute keep pushing up to get the most out of all these applications you can do and the jobs that you think you'd be really good at. But moving back to your actual question, Jaguar Land Rover, I think you can see at the moment I'm actually in the office, which has been really good for me. So right from the start of the COVID pandemic, I've been working in the office, doing loads of practical stuff. And as an apprentice, I've been able to work on things that I never thought an apprentice would be allowed to do. But it's sort of that apprentice myth where you think you're not going to be doing all the important work, but it's a case of apprentices being the backbone of the organization, being the passion and being the people that keep everything going in the behind the scenes, basically. But yeah, it's been amazing and by far the best decision I've made.
That's amazing. Hey, Jack, what would you say about your character then? Like, how could I learn from you in terms of how resilient you were? Because maybe someone like myself or someone else might just be thinking, oh, I couldn't keep getting told no all the time. But the things I read, Jack, every successful person gets told no lots and lots because it shows they're pushing the boundaries and they're going for it. I don't know what you think about, what could you reflect on internally there?
No, I totally agree. It's really difficult to carry on when you keep getting told no, and they keep saying, no, you're not good enough, or your grades aren't good enough here, or you scored this much in this test and we want it to be this high. It doesn't matter how many times you get rejected, as long as you take the feedback on and you think about where you went wrong and think about what you could do better. And if you go into your next interview or your next job improving on those things, there's nothing wrong with getting turned down. There's nothing wrong with failing, because the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to be better the next time you do that. So personally, I think through all the applications I did towards the end, my best applications were the last ones I did. And it is really just a case of, like everybody else has said, taking on that feedback, taking the failure and turning it into, okay, how can I improve? And how can I take this to my next interview, to my next job, and show them that that is not something that I should be failing on.
Yeah, I love it, Jack. And we'll come back to talk about the roles in a second. But Alyssa, must come to you at National Grid. So what are your reflections on what we'll be speaking about today so far, I wonder?
Well, I mean, what everyone has said is, I think it's just echoing what everyone said. Resilience is it's a massive thing, and it's pushing through that getting told no, and echoing again what Tom said with authenticity. You don't necessarily have to go in maybe with all the knowledge, because I walked in to my interview with a very vague idea as to what a substation is. I hadn't even seen one in person before, and obviously I'm here at National Grid today working on a lot of the big equipment. it's, you know, they're not necessarily in these interviews asking and testing your knowledge. It's they want to know you as a person. They want to see these key skills that we're mentioning, you know, the problem solving skills, the team working skills, all that kind of stuff come through, rather than necessarily all the knowledge, and, you know, being able to show them skills in an interview.
And then listen, what type of job do you do, and what type of jobs maybe do some of your colleagues do at sort of entry-level apprenticeship, you know, straight from school, so to speak? And I wonder, do you use transferable skills quite a lot, more so than some than others?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I do a lot of like the essential maintenance on site. So you know, I don't even really know how to describe it. Essentially engineering work, getting greasy, pulling things apart, putting it back together, checking that it's all working okay. But we do a lot of that, you know, working as a team. And we can come to some things, and, you know, because we're maintaining it, it's not working to the standard that we quite want it to. So it's figuring out how to get that working and up and running again. So yeah, we definitely use a lot of the transferable skills within my day-to-day role.
That's excellent. And what about where you want to go with your sort of career? How hard was it to get to where you are now, and where do you want to go with it?
Oh, I see. I'm doing a college level apprenticeship at the minute, and to progress through the company, I'm going to need to move on to uni. So my personal progression, I want to, you know, get through my apprenticeship and then speak to the company and hopefully go to uni with the company, which they have said is potentially a possibility, but who knows? We see where the future takes us. But this is all the parts of growing, I guess, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And you still got jobs available, haven't you, as well, at National Grid? Do you know about those, or?
Oh yeah, we're taking on quite a lot this year, I believe. We've got overhead lines going as well, which is the work on the pylons, which is a separate side to the company. I know when I was applying, I thought it was all one big thing. It's not. We do have the overhead lines and the substations as two separate things.
No, okay, great. So we've got roles at National Grid available, which is great. Jaguar Land Rover, Jack, there's still roles available for you guys as well, aren't there? I'm not sure if you want to comment on those.
Yeah, so I think at the moment we have the newly done applied professional engineering degree apprenticeship, which was converted from a 6-year to a 4-year course this year. So I think there's 3 of the pathways open for that. And then there's 3 other pathways open for the course I'm on, which is Digital and Technology Solutions degree apprenticeship. And then I think there's a manufacturing level 3 or level 4 apprenticeship still open as well. But yeah, like Chantel mentioned right at the start, the deadline is coming up. So if you want to get in this year, get a wiggle on.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, we'll follow up with everyone in terms of how you can apply, because I think it's so good. Jaguar Land Rover are recruiting at the minute, National Grid are recruiting as well, and BT. Tom, you guys are still open, and you've got loads of roles available, haven't you? You can do pretty much anything at BT these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I you know, our demand is constantly changing. So what I would say, and this echoes for other organisations, is constantly keep checking the organisation's website. You may go, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of other organisations, but you may go to National Grid or Jaguar Land Rover, and one week there might be roles, and then the next week there might not be. The following week there could be roles again. This is all about businesses basically choosing when they need people and when they don't. And usually that's broken down into different units. So our business management team might decide they need apprentices at a different time in the year than others. So keep checking. I applied for a role at Google when I was on the scheme at Pathway that I saw on their website for a matter of about 4 days because they received so many applications. It was like, whoop, shut it down. I'm sure we've got the perfect candidates within that pot. And they got so many applications that they had hundreds of people to sort through, and that was only open for a few days. So do keep checking. Don't go to an organization and think, oh, they haven't got any apprenticeships I want to do. You know, draw that one out. Go back and check next week and the following week and so on. That's
awesome. Cheers, Tom. And Danny, just want to come to you for some advice for my 18-year-old self, because hearing these guys speak, I don't think I'd back myself. I'll probably never back myself getting to like a really big organization, because I wasn't the most academic at school. But what I'm hearing here at the minute is that it's not all about your grades. I just wonder what advice you have for me as an 18-year-old self, really. You know, like, is it daunting going to these big companies? Is it achievable? Because I know you work with lots of big companies at the co-op for your memberships and ISE, or is it easier maybe going to try and for a smaller company, a bit safer? you know, for someone who maybe lacks that confidence to think they can go and work for a big blue chip?
I think try and take the brand of the business out of it is probably what I would say. I don't think it's no harder or easier to get into a larger or a small organization. Some large organizations have a more simple recruitment process than some smaller organizations. So I don't think it's necessarily about the size of the business. I genuinely, and I know, and there's an element here which I'm going to cover next week in the co-op session around the realistic element of the jobs market. So it's great that we can talk about you know, being yourself, and that is absolutely important, because if you're invested in the opportunity, it'll show in your application. If it shows in your application, the company will buy into you, and if they buy into you, you'll have a contract on the table. But I also do think it's really important that we are also realistic. So things like getting yourself organized to make sure that you don't miss deadlines is a really simple tool, but businesses won't reach out to every candidate in the country to say they're closing their deadlines. They'll just do it. And unfortunately, that's the nature of the game. So I think there's some elements, isn't there, about being quite realistic in your job hunt, and I'd like to cover some of that in the session next week around kind of getting to grips with the inners of the recruitment process and a few behind the scenes tips. But yeah, Chris, just to answer your question, that was a really long-winded answer, but I think for me it's just, yeah, don't look at the size of the organization as a reflection on how easy or how hard it is to get into the company. What I would say is that a recruitment process will tell you a lot about the company itself. So if it's a really bad experience, chances are they might not be the best organization to work for, because they're not investing in your experience up front as such.
Yeah, definitely. And Danny, don't worry, I ask long-winded questions. I'm well aware. But yeah, basically my mission for this, Danny, and for the young people on this is that BT, Jaguar Land Rover, etc., you know, National Grid, Co-op, big brands that we might recognise and go for, and they might be well advertised. But it's also finding those smaller gems maybe that we don't know about. So that, you know, those young people who are turning up to these sessions and catching our eye, and we see your names more and more, they're the ones that we're really going to try and help support even more so, because we know that you're driven towards it, you know.
I think the key thing for me on brands, and I always remember when I was a recruiter of graduates many moons ago, I always remember Apple were an organization that everyone wanted to work for as a graduate. They didn't have a grad program. So how does that work? And it was all about brand. So I think it's important that keep in the back of your mind that working for a large organization or a big brand has its pros, has its cons, and isn't for everyone. And if you choose to work for a smaller organization or even a really local business, the experiences that you can get there can be as good, if not better, than working in a large organization. It again depends on the type of business and the environment that you want to work in, and you can only find that, whether that's right for you or not, by doing some research and securing other experiences, which will give you a bit of an insight, be that virtual work experience, be that physical work experience, or even just be that desktop research.
Yeah, let's take that topic to next week when we're with Danny. Just ask Danny when we've got a full hour with him about, you know, the small business versus the big business approach, and maybe what works for you. It's just like, is an apprenticeship or uni the right route for me, depending on what learning style I am? Max, I'll come to you next with any questions, please. But just firstly, I think it's Chris, I'm guessing from your name. What opportunities can I get from this? Look, exactly like I said, there are big brands who are going to have jobs. There are big brands here that won't have jobs as well, but they're going to be able to help give you the skills, and then us be able to guide you into jobs where it is matched back to where you live. If it's London, if it's Birmingham, Manchester, Bristol, wherever that might be, in the middle of nowhere, we're going to do our best to make sure that Max and the team can work with you this summer to make sure that you're going to get a positive destination and get where you want to get to, because it's going to be hard. So our company needs to work harder because of you know, what everyone's telling us, that it might be challenging because of lockdown, but there's still jobs out there. You know, we're doing an event with Pret a Manger tomorrow on Thursday, and you know, their hospitality, they're still hiring. You know, Butlins and Bourne Leisure, they're still hiring in hospitality where there's not much money going in at all. So there are jobs out there, and it's our job to find them for you. Max, over to you with a couple of questions. Let's get some questions from the guys in.
Okay, we've had quite a few good questions, and there's some that I'm going to group together. But one of the ones that we want to cover, so we answered that one about what opportunities are available through the next 8 weeks and kind of companies we're working with. Sandra's asked a valuable question about when is the best time to apply for an apprenticeship for students who are leaving school in the summer. And I don't know if you want to get Chris, everybody on the panel to give an opinion or what we could cover, but Danny, maybe you can let us know. Co-op, I'm leaving school in the summer. When should I apply to your apprenticeships?
Throughout summer is probably the best answer. I think the important thing to call out is this year is very different to previous years. The application window for a lot of apprenticeships has been pushed later into the year because of the impact of COVID on businesses and also the impact of businesses being able to engage with schools and colleges as well. So later this year than usual. This week is seemingly a starting point, a bit of an ignition to a lot of those campaigns going live in lots of businesses. So yeah, start this week, and to I think it was Tom's point around kind of keep checking back on different websites. I think that's really important. Lots of websites allow you to register for alerts, so if you can, please do that.
And then Chris, we've got, so if we're looking at, you're going to apply to an apprenticeship, you're going to go to an interview, and somebody's asked, what are the main do's and don'ts when being interviewed? And I think we can relate that to a question that we had as well. And somebody says, as someone that relies on high grades and educational progress, I'm lacking in terms of skills needed in the workplace. What would you suggest I do to improve this? So maybe we can group those two together.
Yeah, maybe we can. Max, where's that going?
Who do we want to ask it? I mean, I don't want to rely on.
I just wondered, Tom, in terms of do's and don'ts, what were your don'ts that you realised you were doing, and then you turned them into do's for your interview process?
That's a great question. I'm going to try and think of that and and answer in the forefront as well. I'm going to come back to do's and don'ts. I'm going to ask the other question because my mind's ticking in the background. In regards to, good grades, fantastic, of course, but what can you do to improve your skills needed in the workplace? BT and I'm incredibly passionate about volunteering. BT had exactly the same value when I joined. We give all of our staff 3 days volunteering leave on top of their annual leave to go and work towards great causes. It's something that I think actually built the person who I am. And if you haven't done any particular volunteering, I would definitely recommend that. So even if it happens to be at school with extracurricular activities, it could be helping out a sports club, it could be helping in your local town centre, it could be helping on your school council, it could be absolutely anything. That makes you who you are, and that gives you those soft skills that you need to make yourself employable. So I would definitely recommend looking at that if you haven't already done so. Even that, I can use an example. We're living in unusual times. It's not a time where you can go and kind of volunteer at your local football club. I can appreciate that. But something I do is I registered as a NHS volunteer responder. So someone who can just go and help those isolating with shopping and medication or whatever it might be, just effectively delivering stuff to them, or just giving them a ring and having a chat. I think at the moment, particularly older people can be quite lonely. That kind of stuff you can volunteer for free. I find it incredibly rewarding. I'm sure that if somebody hasn't done it before and doesn't know what that feels like, those kind of things really do make you feel good. It's important to your mental health, not just that, but also the fact that you are a key part of the response during a national pandemic, so an international worldwide pandemic. So bear that in mind. It creates, you'll have obstacles, you'll have things to deal with where you're not quite sure what to do, but they're the kind of questions that you're going to get asked in an interview, is how would you respond if you're put in an unknown situation, etc., etc.
No, I like it. Thanks, Tom. Keep going.
No, do's and don'ts. I'll make it very quick. Do's, smile, shake, maybe not shake hands with COVID, but if we are ever allowed to shake hands again, shake hands. Just thank people. Be grateful for where you are. I think that's really important. Some people won't get to an assessment centre. If you're at an assessment centre, be grateful and be proud that you have got that far. Some people haven't got as far as you have. Don'ts, definitely, and I guess maybe on the first couple of assessment centres I went to, I felt like I was in a room of 20 people and I had to be number one, and possibly push myself too far and try to compete with other people rather than working with them. Sometimes you can go to an assessment centre, there could be 12 people there, there might be 12 roles available. but you've still got to go through that assessment center so that the business can see. The business might turn around and go, actually, we've got 12 superb people here. We're really happy they've met all of our requirements. We've got 12 roles. They're the people we're going to put there. The really important thing is that you actually work with the people who you're in an assessment center with. One, because it just makes your life 10 times easier. And secondly, because you are going to have things like group assessments where you're going to work with other people. And that's not about competing. That is about you guys working together collectively to solve an issue or the problem that's put in front of you. Don't always think that in a group assessment, it might be 6 people, that you, the person speaking the most, is the person winning or really picking up the points. It's people who go, you know, so and so, what do you think? You've been quite quiet, or I'll keep track of the time. It's that kind of stuff which shows leadership and initiative, which will give you the good marks in those environments, as opposed to just talking over everybody, which has the reverse effect.
Tom, that's so great. Just to jump in here, Jack, I can see you nodding, because this reminds me of my sort of childhood of fake it till you make it. I'd always go into the bathroom before an interview and like just get myself psyched up for it. I do my stretches and literally go into it like it's an elite sporting occasion, just to get myself up for it and try and fake the confidence. What were you like in those? I saw you nodding when Tom was speaking there.
No, yeah, I totally agree with what Tom's saying. You've got to be the person that encourages other people to speak up and allows people to give their opinion, because even though someone's quiet in the corner, it doesn't mean their opinion is not valid or they don't have a better idea than you have. And allowing everybody to speak and having an open conversation in these group assessments shows that you're willing to take a step back, stop dominating the conversation and let other people chime in and really get a proper, it's a group assessment. The whole point is you work as a group. And like Tom said, if one person is sitting there dominating it and saying, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that, it defeats the point of doing it. And you're doing the exact opposite of what the companies want you to do. But yeah, I totally agree with what Tom's saying. You don't want to be, you want to stand out, but you want to stand out for the right reasons. You don't want to stand out because you're the loudest. You want to stand out because you're letting other people get involved and you're saying, oh, what do you think? Shall we do this? Like Tom said, keeping an eye on the time and things like that. Little key skills that people look over a lot, but are really important to employers like the guys here today. Yeah.
No, thanks. I'm conscious of time. Thanks, guys. Alyssa, I just want to come to you from someone saying, do you think that schools should teach the importance of key skills? Because they don't really teach it to us much. I just wonder, like, you're in quite a technical role. How did you really use school and education to become where you are now? Did you have to go and search for more key skills and experiences? Or was it all about academia and then getting the role from there?
To be honest with you, I was quite lucky at school because my school did do stuff like this regular, so we did get sat down and taught our key skills. But if you're not, I think the best way to do it is go out and seek the information that you need, because stuff like this comes in handy in all walks of life. Whether it's social or just working, you need it for interviews or just for the job in general. Just your basic skills like problem solving. You can go out and play video games to build up skills like that. It's just going out and finding them key skills. If they're not provided for you in school, definitely go out and get them.
And guys, we've got 4 minutes left of recording time and with our panelists, and then Max and I will stay to answer some of your questions till the end. But by the way, these questions that you're asking, we're going to be using them in the sessions to come, because we're going to be back here 3 to 4 every Wednesday. But Alyssa, there are roles available at National Grid. Why should young people get involved, really? Why come and work at your company? Because there's some good jobs out there, aren't there, at the moment?
Oh yeah, it's great. Like I've said it a couple of times now, I didn't know too much about the company apart from what I'd seen online and what I'd researched myself. I'd never even seen a substation beforehand. So getting in and really getting into the job. I mean, the first day I was there on the substation, I was watching a job and it was absolutely chucking it down. But you know what? I was stood there and I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm really enjoying this, getting involved in the work. And I think, if anyone else can get involved and see that glimpse and, think this is what I want to do, then you just need to go for it. That's all I can say. Whatever drives you, whatever makes you stand there and say, this is what I want to, just go for it.
Thank you. That's so good. Max, could you put in your email into the chat box, please, the student account, just for anyone, if they do really want to apply for these roles, they can get on it early and sort of be fast track, so to speak, because I know some of them, the deadlines are impending and we want to help you as quick as possible. Chantel, I'm not sure if you're there, quickly just to talk about the Jaguar Land Rover scheme, because I think if you do want to apply, it's an amazing scheme, but it ends next week. You've got to get in quick, haven't you?
Yeah, I think definitely you have got to get in quickly. So the applications close on the 15th of February, so on Monday. So as Jack mentioned earlier, we've got 3 different key programs that we are recruiting for. So it's just about getting in there. If you are interested, have a look on the website and see what's the right role for you, essentially. But I definitely recommend going on there and having a look, and if it is right for you, then apply.
And thanks so much, Chantel. And just, like I said throughout this whole program, if you're interested in stuff, we can support you. Email in, Max will pick up that email and we can get in touch with you and give you the links that you need to apply, or indeed just have a further conversation with you if you're still not sure about it. Tom, at BT, there's often deadlines all over the place. You've got to be on top of it. But why should people come to BT? What has it done for you, I suppose, briefly, Tom, because I know it's done a lot for you.
Yeah, I will be forever grateful for BT. It was an organisation that made me feel quite warm and welcome, even at the application process. And I was really proud to be accepted the role. We were, there were plenty that I applied for. BT was the only one. Everything happens for a reason. I am a true believer in that. BT was the only one that I was successful for, but now I know that it was the perfect organisation for me. I've been given opportunities to lead a team. I've been given opportunities to work on hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of projects. As an apprentice at 21, only 21 in January, that's pretty amazing. I'm incredibly grateful, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities in the future as well.
Thanks, Tom. And Danny, just come to you finally before I go to everybody else. I just want to leave on a motivational message that you can all think of for people who've turned up today, 3 till 4, before you get on to your next phone calls. And Danny, just from me, I'm looking forward to our session next week, because there's so much knowledge that you can give in terms of the sessions we've done before, but I really want to tailor it to the students on this program. And also talking about things like getting your foot in the door, like the Member Pioneers program, like you can volunteer at the co-op locally. And I'm sure there's so much we can discuss next week, but in terms of your motivational message, Danny, it'd be good to sort of round us off, and then thank you for coming today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it's gone back to that resilience and that positivity piece. I think keeping confident, keeping organised, and keeping as positive as you can be in these times is really key to being able to secure the opportunity that you want. There's loads of content that'll be shared over the next couple of weeks, and I think investing in this program or wider kind of careers education through the Careers and Enterprise Company, I think is really important to making sure that you've got all of the knowledge that you need to go on and be successful and get your foot on the career ladder, for want of a better phrase. So yeah, staying positive is really key, and it's easier said than done sometimes in these circumstances. But I think that for me is the one thing which will help you achieve whatever it is that you want to whatever it is that you want to achieve.
Thanks, Danny. And I know you'll be busy at 4 o'clock, so thanks very much for your time. Guys, the link for the session next week with Danny is online already. You can see it in the chat box. Sign up for that, because we're expecting you to turn up to all these sessions, because we're going to keep giving you nuggets. We're going to get to your questions that you tried to ask today. This was really a bit of a kickoff session, but Danny, thank you. Jack, I want to come to you, the resilience man. I think you beat Tom in terms of how many interviews you went to. What's your motivational message for people who maybe want to go into follow your footsteps and get a great job?
I'd say, well, once again, I'd just say don't stop and don't get smacked down by the rejections, and turn it around as a positive. Take every negative that you're given as a positive. Think, okay, this gives me an opportunity to turn it around for the next one. And as long as if you think you're trying your best, you most likely are. So if you have that mindset, I'm sure you'll be capable of getting the opportunity and the job that you want.
Thanks so much, Jack. And Alyssa, you clearly love your job. How can I go and love my job too? What's your motivational message to us?
Probably what I've just said. It's a case of just go for it. Do go for what makes you happy, because what's the saying? if you're happy with your work, you never work a day in your life, that kind of thing. And that's what you've really got to take the risk at. I'm guessing a lot of people in this call are probably still quite young. There's a lot of time to take the risks and go for the crazy jumps if that's what they want to do. There's plenty of time if they ever want to change their mind, but go for what makes you happy, I think.
Thanks, Alyssa. And Tom, last words to you. You came through the Pathway program a few years ago. What advice would you have for the young people and on what we've put on for them in terms of the sessions up to Easter and then the support they can be getting for us throughout, hopefully into employment?
Yeah, first and foremost, guys, you're incredibly lucky to have that support. A lot of people don't have it. I speak to a lot of young people in schools about apprenticeships and the resources you've got, particularly skills days. I would definitely emphasize on. Take advantage of them. Listen to all of the tips and advice that's given to you. Practice, and the rest is over to you. The passion, enthusiasm, as Danny's mentioned, the resilience will take you beyond that point. Let Pathway take you to that point, and then take the leap, which is all down to you. But keep the resilience going. Don't give up, and everything you do is good, even if it might not get the result that you might expect. Everything you're doing is developing you as a person and making you more employable. So keep it up.
Good, thanks, Tom. And look, guys, I think that's a great kickoff from some amazing people, some amazing brands. There are jobs out there. There's loads of skills out there that we can all learn. Every day is a learning day. I think you've got to have that attitude, and that's what we'll do through this program. So well done for turning up for day one. Day two is next Wednesday with Danny. Myself and Max will be there as well. We're going to stop the recording there, and Max and I are going to continue just to answer some of your questions. But well done for turning up, and I look forward to working with you through the scheme. Thanks everyone for your time.